What is up, guys? We are back with a monthly Q&A. We're going to go through questions that you guys have asked us on the YouTube channel as well as our Discord server.
Yep.
So make sure to join our Discord server. We're at, I think, 550 different members right now. Also, kind of want to give a shout out to our website. We're finally moving some of the different videos into article format. So now we've hit 1,000 visitors a month on the website. Looking good on that side of things. Still ways to go, right? We're going to continue making 3 videos every single week. We're going to continue to dive into some AI stuff in the future. But again, if you want to reach out to us, Discord is probably the best bet. Also email and leave some comments. But we'll be going through these today, and we're going to start off with some YouTube comments. I'm going to share my screen, and we'll jump right through it.
Yeah, let's roll through them.
Put that in here. All right, and this is over here. Okay, so this is an interesting question on here, and this comes from the Python Pandas percentage change. So this comes from Terrence, and he says, Ryan, I have limited knowledge in this field. These data analysis techniques with Python, are these still useful in the current age of AI where we can just upload the data and use LLMs to query the percentage change and whether specified variables? We actually did get one person that responded. It says there's limits with the AI and LLMs. It definitely makes coding faster, but it means that customization of advanced models will make you stand out more. Also, it's hard to prompt without some understanding of data analysis techniques. So I think that's the first one we should probably talk about, especially as we're going to be not pivoting, but making a lot more AI videos here on the channel pretty soon.
Yeah, that's it. Can you pull that comment back up? I just want to make sure I have reference to it.
Yeah.
That is actually a really good question. And that answer actually helped. The first part of it is definitely right. There's definitely limits to the LLMs for this specific stuff. LLMs aren't great with tabular data. These models are much more natural language focused. They read left to right, whereas a lot of tabular data reads, maybe they have maybe they're like comma separated or something like that. I actually gave a talk last year showing how LLMs can struggle with some of the deeper analysis of, you have this data field here and it's mapped to this column, this data field in another row to this column, and just doing things with that together can be a little bit hard to do if you're just sort of slapping it into a prompt, and just saying, to do something, as well as, these LLMs are not designed to do a lot of those data analysis procedures. Those are tools that are built, on specific algorithms or using specific models or things like that. LLMs, they have an understanding of those concepts, and they can probably do some of them at a rudimentary level, but they are not really designed to do some of that more in-depth data analysis, especially at scale and especially on like real use cases where it matters. So I think 100%, those data analysis tools and some of those data analysis algorithms and things like that, are 1,000,000%, the route to go over an LLM or something like that, especially if you're talking about like any real use case for something like this.
Yeah, and I'll add some context too, because this is on the Python Pandas series. Large language models, I find, write a lot of Pandas code pretty easily. And look, you could ask it to find the percentage change, and it'll give you the code associated with it. This is like a 10 or 15-minute video. Honestly, just know .pct_change, and you're done. You know the context also that it shows as a decimal rather than a percentage on this side of things. I mean, that's my viewpoint on it. If you're going into coding interviews as like a data analyst or data scientist, if I was giving the interview, like I would ask some very basic Pandas questions, maybe not percentage change. I might ask like diff or something else like that. But you do need to at least have some understanding of, some of the different features that are available within Python Pandas, even with all those tools out there, because it's not going to solve every single situation. And especially like if you need to get your first job, you need to have that. You can't just answer every single question. Well, I'm going to prompt a large language model. I'm going to prompt an LLM. Like after a certain point, like I'd be really annoyed as an interviewer. Like you could say it once or twice, like, okay, that's fine. But like if every single answer you're going to say is, oh, I'm just going to prompt, like anyone can prompt.
Yeah. And I think, if you're using the LLM to like write the code to do data analysis, I think that's fine. Granted, you probably are going to want to do some tweaks and things like that to it, but I don't really see a lot of like real use cases for using an LLM. I think you would spend as much time setting up the LLM pipeline to do whatever the data analysis is with if you just wrote like a Python script that just does it, with like a real model. Like I genuinely think you'd spend identical time doing that. So I really would not want to use LLMs for like any real world data analysis stuff.
Yep. And let me just make a note on here too. I'm going to say answered in our Q&A. Or make Q&A. I'm going to start doing that on these videos too. So that way you guys know, like if you guys post questions, we're going to try our best answering it. Okay. This was just talking about my blue light glasses. There's, which I liked using those in like the 3-hour videos. There was another question that someone had on here. Here we go. I have a data about weight of fish, but the data just have information about the whole weight of fish. But I have to know how many. I gotta say, I'm sorry. All right, ready? I don't know why I thought that was funny. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, we have another question over here. I have a data about weight of fish, but the data just have information about the weight of fish, but I have to know how many fish are in that whole weight. But my colleague gave me some information like that every fish have some weight between 1 to 4 kilograms or 4 kilograms plus. So I'm just confused. What range should I use to get this information of how many fish in that whole weight? Should I use median, range, min range, max range, combine it? But I'm scared that it can be biased to my data. I'm sorry for English. I'm trying to explain it. I'm sorry for my English trying to explain it. I really appreciate if you can give me some advice or answers. Thank you. All right, let's read that over again. So essentially he's saying that he has some data about weight of fish, but the data just has the entire weight of the fish population, and the fish are either like classified 1 to 4 kilograms or 4 kilograms plus. Looks like a categorical model you would use over here, but then he's talking about what range should I get the information of how many fish for that whole weight? Should I use median range, min range, max range? So it's not a prediction model. It's literally just, we have this. I mean, can you just do that like with algebra? Like have one set of fish being 4 kilograms, another set being like 2.5. And
I have data about weight of fish, but the data have information about the whole weight of fish. So I'm guessing like
the entire population.
Yeah.
But I have to know how many fish. The whole
Okay.
weight.
Okay. Yeah. So there's weights for different fish, and then there's a bucket of fish.
Yeah. So
which of each fish is in the bucket?
Yeah, I mean, you just do as an algebra equation. I mean, that's what it looked like when I was in high school, right? You'd have X amount at 1 to 4 kilograms. I would set the median amount on that, or you could use average too, 2.5, and then you have the 4 kilogram plus. Just set that at 4 kilograms and just build it based around there.
Yeah, that 1,000,000% sounds like a polynomial for your different, with each variable being the different weight of fish, because there's multiple combinations.
There is
for each of the numbers of fish, and maybe there's like rules for like this minimize, do the most amount of fish, do the least amount of fish, whatever,
and then you get your ranges.
It's 1,000,000% like a polynomial. Like there's no AI with fish count here. There's some sort of polynomial to do it.
Yeah, I mean, what this reminded me of a question that I used to have and this was from like the math competitions, essentially talking about cars and how they arrived at a destination, and you had to kind of predict the speed of them based around it. But you would have essentially like a range, like, okay, we know that there's either 30 to 40, small weight fish, or like 20 to 35, 4 kilogram fish, just depending how many are others. I mean, you didn't give us the bucket size. So, and like the weight, like we need those to answer this question, but essentially just break it down, right? X and Y, and then solve for that equation.
Yeah. It's just a
Remember, set 1 to 0, set the other to 0, solve it from there,
and just go. I haven't solved a math equation in years like that, so you're gonna be way more primed to answer than me. I haven't taken calculus 2 and however long it's been.
Fun fact: I finished calculus before pre-calc.
Why? How? Why?
I was in math competitions, so essentially I got to take calculus before pre-calc because pre-calc was a requirement in the state of Florida. So
in high school?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even take calculus in high school. I didn't take any of them.
Good old Calc BC days.
I took them all at school.
6 a.m. math competitions. Those were the days.
Don't tell me that.
Just looking at other stuff, I think those were the main questions on the YouTube side of things. I know we did have like 4 or 5 questions on Discord. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'll let you share, Matt, and we'll go from there.
Yep. I assume we're cutting this lag out.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm using my other laptop today.
Dude.
Hopefully this isn't as bad as it normally is. I'm wondering if it's
fish problem.
Dude, I laughed on it.
Oh, dude, I'm glad you cut it out because my face when I was hearing you read about the fish problem was probably so bad. You were talking, I was like, dude, this dude's talking about fucking fish equations.
I saw that in here and I was like, this is why we have to do our Q&A, but I didn't want to tell you until I started reading the question.
Right, okay, so wait, hold up. So we have this one. And then we have this one.
We have ask a question off topic.
Okay, yeah, so we have this one.
And then office hour questions.
Yeah. I'm just making sure these ones here I have.
All right.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
So the Discord, let's take a look. I might want to make this a little bigger.
Yeah, make it bigger because I can barely see it on here.
Yeah.
And I think the first question is by what? Upbeat Shark?
Yeah. Currently starting a turnover risk model work. I'm having a heck of a time getting clean data for it. And with 70% of our turnover happening in the first year, I'm struggling to pick metrics for it. We have a handful of early surveys I can leverage. But other than that, that's a struggle. Anyone tackled this before? Other than logic, just regression. Is there another model you're looking at? The jobs in question are dock worker.
Okay, so let's read it. Okay. Starting a turnover risk model at work.
Churn. Yeah.
Churn. Love it on that side of things.
A heck of a time getting clean data for it. And with 70% of our turnover.
So this is like an HR model, essentially.
Yeah.
Like what employees are going to leave the company. And he has different jobs, which would have. So I actually read a little bit about this today. I was doing some research on N8N, and someone had a video based off of like a HR model on turn rate of employees. So like one of the things they talked about in that model, and I don't know how applicable it is to this industry, right? Payment of employees, talking about how long they've been at the company. Do they turn up to company events or not? Those are pretty easy ones on that side of things. Working hours, how much time do they work in a day or over a week? How much PTO do they take? Like, I think there's some things that you can see trends over time. Like, is someone taking a lot more PTO than normal over a year? Like, but the problem he's saying is he doesn't have a lot of data.
And actually the real problem. Well, so there's 2 real problems. One, 70% of all your turnover happening in the first year makes it hard. Essentially, your metrics are capped at the 1-year mark. There's essentially nothing you can.
I mean, is that what he's assuming though?
Variance to
is that what he's
year?
Is that what he's assuming though? That he's trying to build out a 1-year model? Because at least in my company, and I'm not going to talk everything about my company, they talk about 1-year turn rate or burn rate on like employees. So I think that's like a common metric.
But it is, but the problem is 70% of it,
which is a lot.
There's not like if you wanted to predict it 1 year, I would hope 70% of your turnover happened at like year 3, so that you had a bunch of variance in that 1 year timeline. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I know what you're saying.
70% of your data is just gone, where it's it's not the worst. I just wish it was a little better. I wish I would love to see what the surveys have, because that would give you a little bit more. I don't know if those were like true, false, multiple choice. Like I think that could maybe be a little bit helpful. But definitely you're right in terms of like you're gonna want pay, you're gonna want like maybe like PTO. I think that's actually
Yeah,
a pretty good
you want pay,
one.
you want PTO, you want like engagement with the company. How often are they showing up to events? If you
Yeah,
have Slack channels, like are they in the main Slack channel only, or are they in like other subgroups and stuff like that?
I would
You can see the data.
categorize, like I would want to know. I wouldn't want to. It depends on how many roles you have. Oh, how many roles? Jobs?
He
Okay,
said he
so only
has
three
three.
roles. So you would want, of course, you have the categories there. That's actually going to help you quite a bit, because that should help kind of split up. And so with that 70%, it's either going to split really nicely or it's going to split really poorly. Both of which tell you a lot, which is kind of nice with only having three roles, right? Like, it's either going to split like 20 something percent each, or it's going to be like super weighted. And then you can like focus on that specific job a little bit more.
And I would assume, just looking at those, right, you'd probably have the most dock workers, which is going to take up the majority that are leaving, versus drivers or the supervisor. I would have to be on that case. And I would assume like a supervisor would be someone that's been working there a little bit longer, or someone that's been in the industry a little bit longer than a dock worker. But that's my assumption.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend either having like one of two things, either like a lot of features that are fairly not sparse. So like you only have three jobs. Let's say you only have like four different salaries. You only have like four different or five different answers to the survey. So either like a lot of features that are really not sparse, or not a lot of features that are like very sparse. We have like a lot of different answers, because those two options are really the only two where you're going to find any sort of like diversity in the results that you get, and that diversity in the results that you get is what will help you. It'll help the model find some sort of relationship. You really need like one or the other of those two scenarios. As somebody who has done like a bunch of churn prediction models, I just know that you're going to want like you're going to want one of those two routes. Like either you have data fields, you don't have a lot of them, but they're very sparse, or not, maybe not sparse is the right term, like, but variance, high variance, or like a lot of features and they're just like very structured. There's just they're all categorical, or there's just not a lot of diversity in the outputs. Those would be the two that I would do. Now, in terms of the model, dude, everyone seems to love these logistic regression models for this
What?
kind of stuff. It's probably because of the YouTube video.
I was gonna say two things. Number one, I think logistics are the more popular YouTube videos out there, but also
Yeah,
like when you're jumping into machine learning models, logistics is one of the easiest ones to
I
learn, right?
know. I would definitely look at it, because if your data is the first one I mentioned, where it's not it's a lot of features, but they're all very simplistic, then logistic regression will probably be fine. I would look at predictive models. I have an article and I can link it, for something like that. That is going to mean that you have a lot of training data. You have a lot of data to do it with. So if you don't, you're probably going to be throwing that out anyways. But I would definitely focus a lot more on the data, and then I would start with logistic regression. I don't know if you have any other ones that you like. Like I would just go with the normal
I always tried doing some
stuff.
tree models,
Yeah,
like just in
yeah,
general. Like, I'll always try a few different XGB boosts, throw that in there as well, because it's
yeah,
so easy. It's so quick that you can train a model. You might as well see how it
yeah,
performs on the data set. One thing I was also going to say, and I forgot to bring it up, you might have some personal information on people. So, like, how far are they driving into work every day? I know with remote work, it changes stuff, but like all that stuff should be in person. So that would be probably a major factor on if someone's leaving or not. That would be
I would recommend getting as much, like at this stage where you're at, like I would get as much data.
Because you can drop features.
Yeah,
Like you don't have to train it on
go with
everything.
that. Yeah. Like I would just get as much as you can and then just drop as you go. You really shouldn't at this point be thinking about models as much as you should be thinking about getting as much data as possible and how relevant is the data to the equation I'm trying to solve.
Yep. And then we'll go into Zaya's questions on here.
Yep. Hey, months later, I got accepted into the uni I wanted to study economics. Videos help, blah, blah, blah. Thanks so much. I got 4 months of summer ahead of me. I actually want to do something with it. If I want to go, God, I just realized this dude just said he just got into school. Dude, we're fucking old.
You're a year older than me, so I'm gonna say. I said you're a year older than me, so
you don't have to mention that. If I want to go something like fintech, like you did, is there anything specific you think I should do? Any program languages that I would be good to get a hang of, or something along those lines?
And then he says, I want to learn more, but it's hard to know what I actually should do for a future instead of just for fun.
Do you want to, I mean, you work at fintech. It's probably for you.
Yeah, well, I started in the tax industry first. Honestly, what I'll say is try to get your first job as like a data analyst or something like that, or data scientist, more than just focusing on the industry at first. Like out of college, that should be your goal, not really targeting a specific section. But you said he wanted to go study economics on that side of things. So is he just studying economics, not computer science?
It looks like it. Well, I mean, dude,
there's a lot of crossover.
He hasn't even started. You know, he might
get. You have a lot of time. So what I will say is, going into college, I had no idea how much like FANG paid engineers and stuff like that. I would right out the bat just start learning as much as you can about SQL and Python. Like you're going to spend a year or 2 years, just dive deep into those. If you're jumping into data analysis, like those are going to be your two programming languages that you have to really, really focus on. Now, the side of fintech that I work on is risk and underwriting. I learned that section on the job. Like when I applied to the job I'm at right now, I didn't know anything about how fintechs look at risk or how they look at underwriting specific merchants. I've learned it all over here, but I did come from the tax background where I did help, look at like subpoena data and stuff like that with the IRS. But in general, like study a lot of SQL. I would start off with either like a MySQL or MS SQL or Postgres. Those are probably the three most popular ones out there. If you learn one language, it's about 80 to 90% of the other languages. There's always some small modifications on there. And with Python, learn the basics of Python, start spending a lot of time in Pandas and NumPy, and then jump into machine learning. Once you have some of those concepts down on that side, I would start learning at least some of the AI libraries. What do you think, Matt?
I agree. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I don't agree with. I think that's fine. Start with Python SQL. You'll want to learn
some cloud engineering.
You'll want to do modeling, like, and whether that means like machine learning modeling or just data modeling, depending on how far. When you think about like economics jobs, like there's different ranges of how much that incorporates machine learning. So it just kind of depends on like how much of that do you want. That kind of pie is how much of the machine learning and machine learning modeling and just data modeling you'll have to do. But I think like the Python and SQL and just like some initial data modeling stuff. Like if you did that this summer and you went into school with it, like you'd feel pretty confident if you want to take any of those courses that are around like actual like economic modeling and things like that.
And what I will say, because I didn't do this and I was dumb, go for your internships, especially at big company. It is so much easier to get an internship while you're in college than it is like trying to get into a company after college. Like you already have a foot in the door. They already have recruiters on a lot of the major campuses. You can talk to them, say what you're studying off to the side. They may give you recommendations as well. Like go for an internship at a big company. It's going to be so much easier than like getting out of college and then trying to get a job.
Yep. Yeah, sounds good. I'm a fresher and seeking job roles in data science and data analysis field. Can you help me with the projects, as the projects on YouTube does not give that value to the resume?
So fresher, so I assume freshman or someone that just graduated
No, out of
college.
school. Yeah, that's like a British. It's like a British
Oh,
thing.
okay, got it. It's
Seeking
funny. I've been to
job
Britain
roles.
3 times. I've never heard fresher. But
Really?
yeah, I've never heard that term. The one thing I always remember is after every transaction there, cheers. That's the one thing I always remember. But
Data science and data analysis field. Can you help me with the projects? As the projects on YouTube do not give that value to the resume.
we've talked about it before, going this step further.
I'm trying to figure out where I want to go with it.
Yeah, I mean, what I will say is I do like the insight on it because that is 100% true. Like anyone can just watch a YouTube video, copy a project, and say, "This is my project. Hire me now." Like you don't stand out.
Yeah, I feel like I'm about to clip this and post it on YouTube because I've said this so many times that we should just have a clip for it. But you'll want to. There's nothing wrong with picking the projects that are on Kaggle or on YouTube. There's nothing wrong with that inherently. The real problem is that everybody is going to do those. And so everybody has that same level of showcased ability on their resume. What you have to do to separate yourself is either do something unique, like not a Kaggle, not a YouTube, like something different, whatever, or do those projects and take them a step further. Do something unique related to those projects. The example I always give is, let's say you watch a YouTube video on how to build a RAG chatbot. Do not just build a RAG chatbot off the fucking YouTube video and post it. Take it a little bit of a step further. Maybe fine tune the embedding model. Maybe, build a prompting framework, that shows, you know how to build like, higher end prompts. Build in some tools. So now you have like a multi-tool agent. You just have to take it a step further to showcase that you have a deeper knowledge about the subject than what everyone else does. All these jobs is sort of a comparison of your ability versus everyone else's. And so you have to sit there and kind of think a little bit about what is everybody else's resume that is applying to this job showcasing. And all you have to do is put yourself in the top whatever for doing that. Honestly, a really good example. I'm surprised I haven't given this example before. One of the main things that got me a job, my resume was not that great coming out of school. I went to a school that's small. My GPA was kind of average. The companies I interned were small. What set mine apart and what got me my first AI role was my senior thesis. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos on how to do object detection, how to do OCR, how to write code for drones. And then what I did was I built a project using all of those that showcase a deeper level of understanding. What I built was a drone. You could write an object on a piece of paper, like a bike or something. The drone would read it. It would understand what it is. It would get up and fly and find the object in the room and fly to it and land. So all of these came from, I knew about those things, but I didn't know a ton about them. I watched YouTube videos and I didn't just put on my resume, hey, I did a handwriting project that I watched on YouTube, or an OCR, handwriting OCR project on YouTube. I took it to a different level. I incorporated all of them together. I built a real thing. And that is a much more impressive build than, I know how to download off Kaggle a data set and train an OCR model. Like it was all this stuff incorporated in that built a much nicer project. That's honestly probably the best example I could give of like what you should do with like these boilerplate projects that are out there on the internet.
Yeah, and then even talking about like the resumes for jobs, it's same with Upwork, like in freelancing, you have to stand out. You can't just say, I want a job, I want to freelance. Like, go the extra step. Yep. And we'll talk about it in next week's episode. I've had a pretty successful month one. There's been some bumps and stuff like that, but getting customers, I would say it's pretty successful. And a lot of it came from YouTube, right? That stands out, having a YouTube channel, building out content. So there's other ways to get jobs just beyond, having projects, but you have to think about it. Like there's people out there that write a lot of technical docs. There's people out there that contribute to a library. There's people out there that write articles. Like think about just that, how else you could differentiate yourself from everyone else applying to it.
Yeah. It's gotta be to that. And it is a give and take, right? Like if other parts of your resume are better, like maybe your GPA or your school or whatever, then in theory you need less of that. But it's a weighted scale. It's a scale of something's got to be really impressive on there. You want as much as possible, but something has to stand out. And if it doesn't, then you're just going to go into the sea of people that just have resumes that are right out of school and just kind of all look the same. So something's got to be a little bit different.
Yeah, and it also goes kind of back to that last question with the college side of things. Make sure you get those internships because those big names will make you stand out when you apply to jobs.
Yeah.
We have one more from him on the office hour questions. So he actually did show his resume. So go to office hour questions there.
Oh.
So that is his resume.
1 second. I will. 1 second.
You're good. I'll edit all this out tomorrow. Maybe let's scroll down a little bit just so his contact info isn't there. Up.
Is it?
Or actually just delete it.
Oh. You mean oh.
No, I meant just go to the top line and just delete really quick.
Not, it's a PDF.
Oh, okay. Just scroll down then.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Cool. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Okay. So let's take a look. Aspiring data analyst, skilled in SQL, Python, R, Power BI, passionate about data-driven decision making, actual insights.
So Code Clause is an internship. So conducted EDA on the Iris dataset using Iris dataset. Isn't that one of the basic ones out of scikit-learn?
It is.
So I'm kind of confused why you did that in an internship. That would be my first question I see on here.
I'm looking. Okay, so Code Clause is it's a IT consulting. It's like us.
Okay.
EDA and Iris. I don't know. That's like one of the default. That's like a Kaggle default, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why I said it's like Kaggle and it's the default in scikit-learn because I remember making Iris videos on the YouTube channel like 2 years ago. So I personally would say if I was looking at a resume and I saw that as a job, like the first line of an internship that you were like something that was on all these websites, like a kind of a beginner project, I'd kind of question the internship. It'd be like, what were you doing on the job when you were doing a basic data set?
Yeah, I mean,
kind of red flag.
I think you know where I'm going with this. Like this whole it's got to be more. It's just I don't know what the results were. I don't know what model you used for the attribute or attrition prediction.
And
I don't know what results you got. I don't know what you did.
Not the nitpick again, but in 1 month, right? Built an ML model for employee attrition, developed a Parkinson's detection model with class, designed a heart disease risk model and visualization. Dude, and this sounds really rude, I just don't know how you do all that in a month. Like including
It's
onboarding and everything. Like if you were working there, I would just focus on one, maybe two projects and talk a lot about it. Like you seem like you're Superman doing all that within a month.
Yeah, and what it looks like to an employer is you didn't do anything on those. You had like a small role in each, but you didn't own and actually build one of those things. Like I would rather you had one of these and it's really built out in the resume for what you did, what your results were, what you used, than a bunch of them kind of being like general. Like I would 1,000,000% rather the one before the other, if you get what I'm saying. Um,
Let's jump into the skill set. So you have programming, you have SQL, you have Python, R, data viz, you have Power BI, Matplotlib, Seaborn, Tableau, machine learning, supervised and unsupervised learning, NLP, which is it's just keywords there. Like you're not
yeah,
talking about even the libraries. Like you don't have scikit-learn in there.
yeah, that's got to be more specific. I don't even know if I want to talk about skill sections because I hate skill sections. But
100%.
if you're gonna have it there,
You need to talk about where you
it's
apply
got to
this.
be it's got to be more specific there. Projects. How many is sentiment analysis that big on Kaggle? How many resumes have we looked at where sentiment analysis?
Everyone has sentiment analysis on Kaggle.
Develop sentiment.
That makes me want to make a sentiment analysis YouTube video just to get 50,000 views and
Dude, it
just say.
makes it. Anyways, developed sentiment analysis classification model using LP techniques, achieving 85% accuracy in business insights. Okay, so we have what you did. We have what the results were. I don't really hate it actually. I would like to see, and I'm nitpicking at this point, I would like to see maybe some info about the data set and the use case. Actually, the use case. I don't know what you were classifying. I don't know what it was for.
It's super vague in business. It's super vague in business insights.
Yeah. I'd really like to see a little bit more about kind of what that is, because you have two of the steps. So I can't fault those, but I would like to see a little bit more on kind of like what it was for. Like that would be the first question I'd ask. Like what are you
Now
classifying? Like what were you doing?
Now look at the Uber rides. So it says analyze 10,000 ride records, identifying peak demand trends for revenue optimization. Maybe you talk about some insights, like what did you discover along the way? But I assume it's a public data set, and it says deployed interactive Power BI dashboards with DAX based dynamic visualizations, reducing reporting time by 40%. Now that confuses me, right? Because you're saying it reduced reporting time by 40%, but like you weren't working at Uber. Like were these just like public dashboards? But then you said you developed them. So I'm confused. Like it's a contradictory statement if you're saying that you developed the dashboards and then you reduce the reporting time by 40%.
Yeah, my only nitpick is I would like if you clarified the reducing reporting time by 40%, because I'm guessing that's compared to some other way of looking at that data. Like when we think about like what this is being used for, if you just include that, I actually kind of like the rest of it. I really do. Like you gave me the data, you gave me what you were looking at, you gave me what you did, and you gave me the result. I would just like the result to include like what is it, like if you're talking about like reducing or improving, I would just like to know like what the other version is. But honestly, this one I like more than the one above. I actually don't really mind this one.
Yeah, I mean, plus it's Uber versus something that's vague.
Yeah,
right?
data set is large. You didn't you use Power BI, which is fine. You use something a little bit more specific, which I like. It really just that last part I would just like
Just
to know
confusing.
what you're prepared to.
Let's go to the next one. Zomato. So
Clean analyze 50,000 restaurant. Eating, strategic planning. I don't mind it. I mean, it's not something where you're really going to derive like an accuracy result from. It's just due to the nature of the project itself. It's not my favorite, but I really don't know what else you could get from it. I don't mind it.
And looking at it, it says 10+ team members on that. Is this in like production? You're still using, like, people are still using this, or was this just, you see what I'm saying on the 10+?
Yeah.
Like it sounds like it's more than a personal project.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know on that. I would leave it. I actually think it's kind of fine.
No, I agree. It's fine there. I'm just interested. Like,
Yeah.
is it more of like, is it something that's still being like used by other people? Because you're saying it's used
If
by
it is, then I would
team
note
members.
that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with you on that.
I think you could go the extra step on that side of things. And by the way, like, I know it sounds like we're being a little rude on here. Like, we're just trying to help you out on it, just so you can get your job.
Netflix data analysis, design, executed
Netflix.
to extract insights from.
So, all right,
I know where this is going.
few things on the SQL side of things. Number one, notate what SQL language it is. Like, it's fine keeping it on the Netflix data analysis SQL because like a recruiter can see that, but talk about it, right? Like, we're using Redshift SQL, we're using MySQL, Microsoft SQL. Like, what version of SQL are you using? Company might like that, using that specific on that side of things. And then you said solve 15+ business problems using SQL. Like, what business problems were solved, right? Did you take it a step farther? Did you just run the SQL queries? Were you able to like essentially build any views from it? Like, just add a little bit more context. Also, I'd talk about the complexity of the SQL stuff. Like, did you just say like select, star from a table? Obviously, I know you didn't, but I would try to add in a little bit. I remember from my first job when they were hiring the second data analyst, they always talked about like people didn't know their joins, as stupid as it is. So like, if you're going for entry level job, talk about using types of different joins, talk about using group by. Like, it sounds stupid, but like, you'd be shocked how many people apply to jobs that don't even know what a group by is in SQL.
Yeah.
Like, it's hilarious. Music store data analysis.
Design database schema and executed complex SQL queries for business analysis. Provide insights in customer behavior, sales reporting. Optimize queries for efficient data retrieval, enhancing reporting generation. It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't. It's fine. Maybe I would talk about like the optimizing the queries a little bit to show like how much better yours is than whatever was there, but I think that's probably it.
I almost want to say, and this might sound crazy, like either choose the Netflix one or the music store one and just go much more in depth about what you used, because they're both SQL projects. They both have like the same exact stuff on there. Like, just expand one out and really, really talk about it, because at least in my eyes, if I was interviewing or hiring someone, like, you have two SQL projects that look very similar. Instead, just put one on there, talk about everything that you did, go much more in detail on that side of things. Maybe you have like a Python data analysis one. I mean, it almost could be said the same with the Uber and the Zomato. Like, you have a sentiment project, you have a Python project, and then you have a SQL project, and like, take up that space and really talk about those projects. What do you think about that, Matt?
I would probably leave them all. This resume, just because
It's
there's no
fresh.
work experience, is so
Yeah.
small. Like,
I could see
if
that
you have
too.
like a lot of work experience, and like then you would want to start looking at like what to remove, and I would always remove the skill section. But I would probably leave it just because there's you want to show with a resume this small like as much as you can.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Certifications. Let's take a look at that.
Very nice.
Bachelor's in data science. That's good.
Data science.
And then graduation. So congrats on graduating, because by the time we put the video out, you graduated.
Yeah.
Hopefully you land a job.
But that's real, and there's nothing else. That is.
It's not terrible out of the gate.
It's really not. Like, I don't. there's really, I mean, most of the stuff that we mentioned was just
minor,
like minor language. Other than like I would do some work on this. But other than that, like I would leave. I mean, there's a couple small things on the project section, but that's about it.
the one thing I might say, and this is just me like thinking out the spot, you talked about college, like maybe in the skills section, like you could talk about classes that you took in college that you learned those skills from.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, because I'm like, you just graduated. You talk about the college, you talk about the GPA, which I don't know how the GPAs work over there in the States. It's up to 4. But like talk about some of the classes, right? Did you have any research papers or like final projects? Were those projects down below part of other classes? Like integrate your education into your resume. That's what I feel like a lot of people want to see as soon as you graduate from college. And you're not talking about too much of what you learned in college minus that MongoDB certification.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually do agree with that. I would include that. When I had my resume out of school, I did that as well. That's a good idea.
I'm trying to think what else. Were you any like clubs or groups in college that revolved around data? That'd be something else I would throw on here if you could.
Um, I think that's. I mean, really, I don't. I can't really think of anything else. I think everything else is fine.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Everything else is fine. I don't know if you had anything else you want to add to that. I'm looking at it. I don't really see too much.
No, definitely change the skills section into college classes, talk about the skills. If those projects were in classes, I would mention that like this was a final project for this class. And then if you're in any groups or clubs that revolve around data or anything like that, I would also talk about that.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be a bad idea if you build out an AI project, though, also like a large language model project or like RAG application, just because it's such a hot skill set right now. You can build out a project in a week or 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my personal opinion. Like you might not even use it as a data analyst, but the company might look at it, ooh, AI, and then hire.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything else on that? I think I'm
No, and
pretty
I think that
good.
was our last. That was our last question as well. So thanks,
Yeah.
guys, for watching this video. Next week we're gonna do. I don't know if it's gonna be a video like this or just a video on my own. My first month on Upwork. I actually want to make other Upwork videos also, kind of like the failures and different things. Like I'm just gonna be transparent. Everything across the way that I've been doing on Upwork, I'm just gonna share it to you guys on the channel. If you want to watch it, awesome. If not, like this doesn't matter to me. And same as we build out this NAN series, web scraping, like it's going to keep growing.
Yeah. Sounds good, man.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next Wednesday for another video like this. Otherwise, it is, I believe, more Pandas videos and more web scraping coming soon. So be on the lookout for those. See you next time.
See ya.
Get out of here.
Tell me when you hit stop.